So I have a question for you. How many of you have ever backpacked before? Anybody ever backpacked or hiked in the mountains where you've seen that mountaintop way off there and you're thinking, how am I ever going to get there? Or that pass, that's the goal. Or maybe you've just been walking in a city and you have a goal of where you're headed and you can kind of see it way off in the distance, but you've got to get from here to there. Or how many of you have created a plan for a trip and you've looked at a map and you've seen some place you've never been before and it's just a little speck on a map? You've never actually touched it or smelled what it's like to be there or been there, but somehow you've created a trip and you've eventually gotten there and experienced that. Or even this morning, how many of you were able to see the church this morning while you were getting ready for coming here? Can anybody see the church from home? You can? All right. How many of you could smell the coffee already or feel the hugs or taste the food or hear the talk? But you still came. So what is it that brought you here when you couldn't actually see this place as you were preparing to get here? One time I decided to manifest a trip to Greece. I had never been there. My son was 15 and I decided he needed to experience another country before he left home. The person I was living with at the time was a graduate student, so this idea of all of us going to Greece seemed pretty far-fetched because there wasn't a lot of money and income coming into the house. But I was determined to manifest this trip, and we did. Now, if I had had my ears going, well, I don't hear Greek music yet, so Greece probably doesn't exist. Or if my nose was saying, I don't smell any Greek food or the ocean, so what are you thinking about going there for? Or if my hand said, I don't feel the sand yet, there's no Greece. Think about all the things in your life that you've done because you've first seen it in your mind. And you've known it was there, and you went ahead and prepared to get there without even really touching it, feeling it, smelling it, or tasting it ahead of time. Think of all the things we wouldn't do if we listened to all that talk about, well, it can't possibly be real because it's not in my reality right now. So I have another question for you. Why do we eat? Why do you eat?
Get nourished.
Nourishment. Now, if the only reason we ate was nourishment, would we have the greatest winter fundraiser going on right now? If we just ate for that specific reason and only for that reason, there would be no need for things like the greatest winter fundraiser where we're trying to lose weight. So why else do we eat? Fun? Did you say to fundraise?
Yeah, I said hungry, but fun is just as good.
Oh, hungry, because we get hungry, yes. Taste, comfort, it tastes good. Pleasure, huh? Companionship, yes. We often eat for the socializing that takes place when we eat. Need, for our health as well. Well, the bottom line is that when we eat, we're eating for nutrition, but when we eat for that purpose, or when that's sort of the sub-purpose behind when we eat, do we then say to the carrot, okay, I need a little help up here in the eyes and direct that nutrition up there? And we say to the spinach, you know, I could use a little iron in my blood right now. And to the ice cream, we say, okay, please apply that calcium to the bones, but don't stop here. Just keep right on moving. Don't apply anything to the hips, please. We don't orchestrate what happens to that nutrition once we eat, do we? We just completely release it to our digestive system and to the body to do with it what it needs to do. And we trust it to apply all of those nutrients to where they need to go. We don't have to be involved. So there's this great unseen digestive system and unsupervised doing all this work for us, which I think is really an amazing thing. Even though we might set an intention, we set an intention maybe to lose weight, so we're shifting what we eat, or we set an intention to have a pleasurable meal that really delights the palate, or our intention is to have a social interaction and the food is important as a draw to that. We might set those intentions, but once we eat, we're just releasing it. We're letting it go, and it gets to do its own thing. So when you see your good on that mountaintop that Cheryl was reading about, when we see it with our eyes, the next thing we do is treat, and then we eat, And then we release it to the digestive system that knows how to apply all of that to ourselves and to our being. Now, I know you're probably thinking, what is this? Last month you told us we treat and we move our feet, and now we're treating and eating. Well, I think part of moving our feet is choosing what we're going to eat, and on a spiritual level, what it is that we're going to be ingesting, what it is we're going to be bringing in. Because this month we're talking about receiving our good. And to receive it, we have to open to it and take it in and allow it in. So part of moving our feet is choosing what we eat, what we're internalizing, what we're ingesting. So let's use a little example. Here in this area in Las Cruces, there has been a vision, something that some of us have seen with our inner eye. In this community, some of us have seen it for a long time, and some of us a little bit more recently. And that vision has been that the whole New Thought community can come together and be stronger for working together and sharing resources. But that is a vision that's still out there on top of a mountaintop somewhere. And there are some hands that say, I don't feel it. In fact, some people who think they're lending a helping hand are saying, I don't feel it at all, it can't be real. And there are some tongues that say, you know, in the past when we were all together, it left a bad taste in my mouth. So I'm not sure about this. I'm not tasting this oneness good thing that you're talking about or that you're seeing. So it can't possibly happen. Or maybe we're thinking in terms of the ear, and the ear is going, you know, I've heard a lot of things, and I sure haven't heard a whole lot about that oneness thing working, so I don't know that it's real. And yet when we lift our vision to the eyes, to the level of seeing that mountaintop that was in the reading, it's a whole different view. And we know that it's real at that level. And we know that the eye can perceive it. And Cheryl spoke about this earlier. I don't know if all of you are aware of what that prayer team consists of, or who it consists of, and how they've been praying on all of your behalf. Because the prayer team has been coming together and praying not only for the individuals who put in a prayer treatment, but for the entire congregations within each one of the New Thought communities. And this last Tuesday, we had the 3 emeritus practitioners. 2 were there in spirit, but they've been there every week. They weren't able to show up in body this week, Tina and Doug Bailey. We have Geneva Collins. We've had Cheryl, our active practitioner, there. And we had Reverend Sam from Wellspring, Reverend Terry from Unity, Reverend Sandy Scott from the Oasis, and myself. All of us there praying together on behalf of this community. Not just CSL, but the larger New Thought community. That's a really powerful prayer team. And there's a vision there that as we come together, we're stronger and we're more powerful. And we're seeing that vision, even though we don't have all the hands and feet and smell and taste and touch that goes along with it quite yet. So who can see the Organ Mountains right now? Can any of you see them right now? Can you see them a little bit? The whole thing? Can you know then, because they see it, that it's real? Do you trust them? They see it, so it's real. Now, there might be some people up there hiking and experiencing it from actually being on the mountain. Can you believe that? Yeah. So take a moment right now to just go within and imagine for yourself, what is your good? What is the good that you are bringing into your life, that you want to see manifest in your life, or that you're wanting to expand and grow in your life? What is your good right now? And just picture that up on top of a beautiful mountain. What does your good look like sitting there on top of that mountain? And now search within yourself and see if there is a hand somewhere in there saying, well, I can't feel that in my life right now, so I don't know that it's real. Or is there an ear somewhere saying, I don't hear the reality of that right now, so I'm not sure I'm going to buy into your vision. Or maybe even the taste or the smell isn't in full bloom yet, and so It's saying, oh, that's impossible. Now, like in the story that Cheryl read, are you going to turn away with your vision and let those things tell you that you're crazy for holding this vision of your good? Take a moment now to refocus the mind's eye, on your good, and just see it sitting there on top of that mountain again. See it in all of its glory. And just hold that vision as you bring your awareness back here into the center. Now, Emma Curtis Hopkins said, and you can open your eyes if you want, or you can continue listening with your eyes closed. Emma Curtis Hopkins said, your good is your God. So you just saw your God sitting on that mountaintop. Your good is your God. Now, what does she mean by that? Well, if you think about what it was that you saw as your good, think about what God qualities are within that good. Now, if what you were picturing on the mountaintop had to do with a job or abundance, maybe the God quality in that was freedom or a sense of security. And if your God quality, or if your good that you saw was a relationship, some kind of relationship, it doesn't have to be a significant other, but a relationship that you're wanting to see heal or develop, maybe the God quality within that relationship was love or harmony or connection. And if you were seeing your health, again, maybe the God quality within that is freedom, freedom of movement within your own body, or peace of mind. And so within your good is that God, is the God quality. And so allow yourself to see that. Now, has anybody heard opposites attract? I always say opposites attract if you don't like yourself. Think about that for a minute, or if they don't like themselves. And the reason I say that is because if I have X qualities in me, but I don't like them, and I see Y qualities in somebody else and I like those, then I'm going to be attracted to what's opposite to me because I'm not liking these qualities. But if I have X qualities in me, and I see those same qualities in somebody else and I like them in me, then I'm going to be attracted to those same qualities as I look for them in somebody else. So that's why I've always said opposites attract only if you don't like yourself. And in religious science, we teach that like attracts like. That's one of the principles that we teach. So as you, again, picture your good on that mountaintop, and you think about the God qualities that are within that good, take a moment to then gaze within yourself and your own life right now and look at where those God qualities are already showing up. Now, I'm going to shift back to the sort of nutritional metaphor for a minute again, because one of the things that we know about our nutrition is it can show up through many different forms. So if I'm feeling, or if I am told I'm anemic and I need a little more iron in my life, the iron can show up through spinach, can show up through raisins, molasses, or liver. And I'm here to tell you, if that's my only choice, I'm going to remain anemic. So when I'm thinking about what I'm going to experience in my life spiritually, some of those God qualities show up in ways that might not be as palatable to us as others. We might be experiencing it in our life right now. It's there, but we see it in a different form, coming to us through a different mode, so to speak, as we look at the mountaintop. Now, my mother always said that liver was good, and she liked it. And there was just no way that I could wrap this brain around letting that stuff go past my lips. Now, I know some people like it, and I have no judgment if you like it, more power to you. But to her, this was good, and to me, this was just, I couldn't even stand the smell of the stuff. And so, like I said, I was really lucky that I had other ways to bring iron into my diet, into my life. But where is it then that I'm experiencing my good? Where is it that I am really determining whether this is good or not? It's really a lot to do with what's going on in my mind and how it's interpreting the smell or the taste or that experience. And so the first thing that we can do to help bring about a new experience or another way to ingest that same value, that same quality, is through what's going on in our mind. We need to see that good, and we can see it coming to us in different ways. So as you think about that good that's on your mountaintop, and you look at where is that good showing up in my life, and if it's showing up and looks a little bit like liver right now, and you'd rather have a molasses cookie, which is what I'd rather eat, then think about what it is you need to ingest more of. What do we need to feed the mind to bring about more of that God quality? Because as like attracts like, and as I focus on the quality that's already present, and as I focus on feeding myself more of that quality, I'm drawing myself a little closer to the mountaintop, and I'm actually drawing the mountaintop a little closer to me. I wonder if that's what Jesus meant about being able to move mountains. Who knows? But the idea is that like is attracting like, and as we keep our focus on those qualities, and we keep our focus on ingesting those qualities, we're drawing ourselves closer and closer to our own good. So remember that your good shows up in many different forms, that there's going to be a variety of ways that those God qualities can show up. And your good that you see on that mountaintop is as real as the Oregon Mountains are out there. It's already that real right now. Even though your hands don't feel it, even though your ears don't hear it, nothing can negate the reality of that you're seeing in your mind's eye, that you're seeing with the higher vision that comes through the eye. So let's take a moment and hear what our founder, Ernest Holmes, has to say about this. Find the top. Ernest Holmes, at first, is addressing the so-called naysayers. We will be free from their influence forever. We then begin to fill our thought with the idea of faith and the expectancy of good. So there's your good that you're seeing on the mountaintop, and you begin to fill your mind with the expectancy of seeing that, of that showing up. And the realization of plenty. We sense and mentally see right action in our life. We put our whole trust in the law of good, and that's capitalized. So in his mind, the law of good and God, again, are one, like Emma Curtis Hopkins said. We put our whole trust in the law of good, and it becomes very real to us as we definitely speak it into being, into our being and into the being of our affairs. And we deny anything and everything that contradicts this realization of this truth. And so there, again, Ernest Holmes is talking about how it is we set our sights on that reality, and we know it's real. And all of the things that are trying to convince us differently, we can just push aside and keep our eye up on that mountaintop. And then we know that what is up on that mountaintop is a reflection of what we already have. So it's a reflection of the love that we're already experiencing. It's a reflection of the joy that we're already expressing. It's a reflection of that balance that we're already experiencing, because that like is attracting like. It's bringing us in closer and closer. We recognize the strength and beauty of that mountaintop because it's already within us, and we can recognize it and see it within us. So remember then that your good and your God qualities come like nutrition in many different forms. And it's important then to keep one eye, I think, at least on that mountaintop, and another eye looking at where it is already showing up within us. And before you know it, you're going to be on a spiritual journey like this one. And I'm bringing this up again because just 2 weeks ago, this was just a thought and an idea in the minds of the Breedloves. They've been coming to us for months saying, how can we serve this community? How can we bring together the whole New Thought community in an activity that will enrich them and give them something exciting to do? Well, the idea of a spaghetti dinner was kind of like liver to them. It just didn't go over. That wasn't what they wanted to do. That didn't excite them. What excites them is what they've been doing for years, which is creating adventures for people to participate in. And they'd just seen Randy Granger. And so we thought, what would be an exciting adventure for the New Thought community? Having Randy Granger there to play his flute, to lead meditations, to have ways of bringing a spiritual aspect to this quest that they're going on to see these different places. So now we have this. It's that much closer to the mountaintop. That much closer to what was seen originally in the mind's eye. Now, none of us have felt it, tasted it, experienced it, heard it yet. But by the end of July, 45 people are going to be sitting on top of this mountain having this experience. And then they'll come back and share it with us and tell us if we didn't get to go, which unfortunately I can't, but I am looking forward to hearing all about it. So I know that that's how it works. It starts out as this vision, this idea in the mind of our mind, and then it becomes the idea in the mind of our good or our God, and then it starts to unfold. So before you know it, somebody's going to be the greatest winner. Somebody is going to win half of whatever we bring in during this fundraiser. And yet everybody is going to be a winner, because whether you win the money or not, you will win by having lost some weight. And you will win by making connections and finding support for this process in your life. And you're going to win because you're supporting the center, and what's greater than doing that? You're supposed to laugh. I'm just playing with you. And before you know it, the New Thought centers will be pooling their resources, not just in prayer, but in reality, in a way that we can have a space where we draw into us the abilities to learn and teach and experience New Thought principles in an even grander way. Now, right now, from this vantage point, what we're seeing on top of the mountain, we can't see between here and there what gorges might be there that need a bridge to span them, or what rushing rivers might be there and we need a bridge to get across. And we can't see from this vantage point where those bridges are. And we can't see from this vantage point how many switchbacks there are going to be to make it easier to get to the top. And we also can't see from this vantage point which trail is the best one to take to get to the top. But we can see the top of the mountain, and we know it exists. And we know it is real right now in the mind of God, just as real as those Oregon mountains are. And so as you allow this process to take place, before you know it, you are going to be sitting on top of your mountaintop. You're going to be sitting in the midst of your good, and you're going to be fully feeling it, tasting it, hearing it, smelling it, and experiencing your good, whatever it was you saw on the top of your mountain. Because your mountaintop, your good, is as real as the Oregon mountains also. And because your good is your God. And so it is.